1번, number 1 갑시다. What's the difference between noun이다 and noun이 있다? noun이다 is describing what noun is, isn't it? For example, could you make an example sentence? 맞아. 에밀리가 학생이에요. Emily equals 학생, isn't it? When you want to say something equals something, you have to choose this form. 있다, something이 있다. When do you use it? There is a noun form. Or noun is at, on, in, somewhere, location. Any example sentence? 그렇지. 핸드폰이 있어요 말해요. 핸드폰이, if you say 핸드폰이 있어요, it means there is my phone. My phone exists. However, if you use this a particle, location particle basically, then it describes this location, isn't it? In this case, what does it mean? On my desk. This is actually 책상 앞에. 책상에. It'll be simpler, isn't it? 책상에, on my desk. My phone is on my desk. I have to mention this. 있다, something 이가 있다. This form particularly has two functions in English. First one, this is the first one, isn't it? First one, there is, basically exists. Second one, possess. So for example 봅시다. There is, we already said, 핸드폰이 있어요, which means there is phone, but it's quite ambiguous, isn't it? You can also say 저는 핸드폰이 있어요. What does it mean? I have a mobile phone. 자, number 2 갑시다. What is the difference between 안 and 못? Very good. Basically, they are both negations, isn't it? However, 안 is your decision. 못 is your capability. Caitlin, can you give me some example sentence? How about I can't speak Korean? 어떻게 말해요? 안 해요, 못 해요? You have to say 한국어 못 해요, or else if you say 한국어 안 해요, it sounds very rude, isn't it? Why? It means you know how to speak Korean, but you decided not to use. And there's other variations, isn't it? 자, 한국어를, I put this object marker, 한국어를 안 해요, or you can say what? 한국어를 하지 않아요. Just different form, but exactly same meaning, isn't it? 한국어를 하지 않아요. 못해요, same. 한국어를 하지 못해요. Just different variation, exactly the same meaning. 자, what is the difference between 에서 and 에? Very good. 자, 에서, after 에서, noun 에서. Basically, noun becomes location. They're both location. The 에서, you need some movement there. You need some activity there. Gemma, example sentence. Because you do some activity, you jog at a park. 그쵸? You do some activity at this place, then you definitely need 에서. 에, you also need verb, but it has to be direction. You're towards or coming from. 자, for example, I'm going to simply give you the list of these possible verbs. 자, 오다, 가다. You go to, you come from. There's a direction. You need 에. 들어오다, 들어가다. 올라가다. 내려가다. 올라오다, 올라가다, they're both coming up. 내려오다, 내려가다, they're both coming down. And you choose 오다 or 가다 depending on your position, isn't it? If it's coming towards you, you choose 오다. If it's coming from you, you say 가다. 됐죠? What are the difference between these two categories? Category 1, I sometimes divide words into nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. They are part of speech. So what are nouns? This is basically names of things, isn't it? Names이에요. 자, Cameron, the verbs 뭐예요?
Sort of like action.
이거 action이에요. Usually an action. An adjective you go with 이거 status죠, status in English. However, I'm going to tell you later, but in Korean, there's a very, very vague line between these adverbs and adjectives. They're crazy. 자, adverbs modify what? Adverbs like fast, quickly, slowly. These modify what? Verbs or sometimes adjective. Very pretty, isn't it? Pretty is adjective. Category 2, when will I use, this is subject, this is verb, this is object. Function within sentences. Then let's link these two categories. From category 1, what can be subject? They're basically noun space. Subject supposed to be noun. However, because we're adult, we're very fluent in English, we know that what? Nouns can be subject, verbs can be subject, adjectives can be subject, but in different forms, isn't it? To make verb into nouns, what do we need? ing or to. To make adjectives into noun, what do you need? Being or to be, isn't it? Objects as well. What position? Noun position. Nouns can be go objects. Verbs can be object. Adjective can be object, but in different forms, isn't it? Same principle applies. How about verbs? You use verbs for verbs only. But in Korean, as I said, very, very vague line between these two lines. And when I analyze Korean sentences, I don't use adjectives. I usually call it just a verb because they act like a verb. Now, cross-linguistic analysis. So what is the difference between Korean and English in terms of subject? 자, 봅시다. First one, location. Where is it located? beginning이지. beginning. 맞지? Beginning of, is it 2G or 2N? Doesn't matter. As long as we understand each other, it doesn't matter. 자, second, unlike English, to make something as explicitly subject, we need particle, isn't it? What marker? Subject marker. What are they? 이 or 가. What do you call the final consonant? 받침이에요. 받침 있어요. 이 말해요. 받침 없어요. 가 말해요. Last one. Subject themselves frequently omitted. Korean sentence don't like subjects. Then what's our responsibility as readers? We have to find the hidden subjects, which is quite apparent most of the times by context. 됐죠? Actually, Emily brought a very good question, 은는, but I'll tell you later. Let's move on to objects first. Objects. 자, same one. 그렇지. Instead of 이가, we need what? 을. How about the location? Where is it located? Exactly. Some languages take SOV structure. Some other languages takes SVO structure. Some very, very rare languages, some random structure. Something like VOS or something. Very random structure. It's a very, very small percentage. But most of them either go SOV or SVO. So Korean is SOV, English is SVO. And as you said, Korean need a particle. If you want to explicitly mark this is subject, you should put a particle. However, another crazy bit is what?
Often gets omitted.
Exactly, but not object itself. In terms of subject, subject itself disappear. However, object, particles frequently omitted. We hardly omit object itself. We always include object, but we miss particles a lot. It's our responsibility to find what is object and what is subject. 자, verbs 봅시다. Verbs. 자, we have to distinguish these two. 여기 Korean, 여기 English 볼게요. 자, English, I'm going to say she is pretty. There's a pretty girl 있죠. 자, 이거 한국어로 어떻게 말해요? The girl is pretty. 소녀가 예뻐요. Very good. 왜 안 예뻐요? You don't like it to be pretty? Second one 어떻게 말해요?
예쁜 소녀.
What I want is 예쁜 소녀. That's it. 좋아요. Very good. So in English, you use exactly pretty word. Exactly the same word for either case. Although structurally, you need be verb for the former. However, in Korean, you have to change the form in each function. When you want to use it at the end of sentence as verb, you have to conjugate it, isn't it? 예뻐요. 자, base form 뭐예요? 예쁘다. 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 And then when you want to modify noun, you cannot use 예쁘다 same way, isn't it? You have to change the form. 자, number 4 갑시다. There are many ways to say or in Korean. 자, what are they? 이나, I'm going to bracket here. 이나 or 혹은 좋아. Anything else? 거나 아니면 좋아. Excellent. You have to distinguish a syntactic difference amongst them. 이나, to use 이나, what do you need? So noun or noun, 이나 말해요. Ren, example sentence? 자, 고기나 치킨 좋아요. 고기나 치킨. So we need two nouns, meat or chicken. Then we need 이나 or 나. 자, for 거나, what do we need? Verb. Example sentence, you use the future tense, isn't it? I will watch movie or I will go home. 자, 거나 needs verb. 아니면, 혹은, 또는, they're basically conjunction, which means you have to start the sentence with this. 같이 공부해요. 운동해요. Let's study together. Or let's exercise. So 아니면 or 혹은 or 또는 you have to put it at the beginning of the sentence and it's conjunction. 혹은 or 또는 they sound quite written form, so it's good to use for your essays, isn't it? And 합시다. And what do we have? 와, 과 하고 what else? 그리고 있죠. What else? 고 있지. Excellent. 좋아요. What else? 이랑 랑 있어요. Oh, that's pretty much it. 자, you have to distinguish the structure, okay? 자, first one, 와, 과 하고 이랑 what do we need? Noun and noun. For example, 좋아요. 음료수 합시다. Beverage, meat and beverage. You can say 고기랑 음료수 or 고기와 음료수 or 고기하고 음료수. 괜찮죠? As long as you have noun on both sides, it's perfect. How about 고? We need what? Verb here only. 자, example sentence. 먹고 마셔요 합시다. 먹고 마셔요. I eat and drink. When you want to link two verbs, you have to use 고 there. Okay? 그리고 is conjunction, which means start the sentence with this. So for example, 먹어요. And the end of the sentence. And 그리고 마셔요. Typical mistakes I observed from when you're year 1. You used 그리고 instead of 그리고, you used 하고, didn't you? Some of you did. So you said blah 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 해요. 하고 blah 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 해요, which is wrong. Okay? Because 하고, you only use it with noun and noun form. The first hellhole, wasn't it? 자, there are two numbering systems in Korean. Sino-Korean numbering system. And the other one, I call it pure Korean, but you can say native Korean, whatever. 자, Sino-Korean goes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10 됐죠? 자, pure Korean goes 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷. So in different field, you need different system. 자, 갑시다. Sino-Korean. For what items do you need Sino-Korean numbering system? Our pure Korean, isn't it? 1시, 2시, 3시. 자, if it's duration.
I didn't understand what that meant.
What it meant, good. For example, 1 o'clock 어떻게 말해요? 1시 말해요. How about 1 hour? 1시간 말하지. 자, 그 다음에 rest of them are Sino-Korean. 오늘 며칠이에요? 좋아요. 9월 26일이에요. Perfect. 그쵸? 9 is Sino-Korean. 26 is Sino-Korean. 자, 11시 Pure Korean. 22분 Sino-Korean. 됐죠? Oh, crazy system, I know. It takes time to get used to it, so don't worry. Just repeat it so many times. 됐죠? 자, second 갑시다. Do you know the counter noun for second? 초예요, 초. 1초, 2초, 3초, 4초 이렇게 말해요. 자, I'll give you 3 minutes. 6.2, there are 5 sentences. Please translate them into Korean sentence. 같이 합시다. Today is September. 9월 60일이야? 60 you said. 아니지? 이거 이렇게 해야지. 16일. 자, 제이슨 이에요. 자, we have to go what? Year, month, and then date. 자, 2번 11:45 어떻게 말해요? 11시 45분 and then finish the sentence. 이에요. 자, 3번 I've got 1 desk and 2 books. 어떻게 말해요? 좋아요. 책상 1개와 책 2권 있어요. If you want to be picky, 자, instead of 개, anyone knows how to count a large furniture or appliances? 한 대 말해요. 대. Piano, car, something large. We use 대. 그래서 책상 한 대와 책 2권 있어요. 괜찮아요. This flow is very natural Korean way. Typical English speaker sentence. 한 책상과 2 책 있어요. We understand it, but it sounds very not natural. Okay? So we go item first, object first, and then number, and then counter. This is a general flow of Korean logic. 자, 4번 갑시다. There are 20 people in the classroom. 교실에 20명 괜찮아요. If you want to use honorific form, 20분 괜찮아요. Why do we use 있어요 instead of 이에요? Because it means something exists. 자, 5번. I've studied Korean for 1 year and 6 months. This is a little bit tricky, isn't it? 자, for year, sorry, although it's not my fault, my apologies. Year, although it's counting, it goes with Sino-Korean. So you have to say 1년. Counting months, there are 2 ways. You can either say 1년 6개월 or 6달 말해요. 자, if you want to use 개월, you use Sino-Korean. If you want to use 달, you use pure Korean. They're both month. As what? Duration. Okay, shall we move on to 7? Number 7, category. There are three categories of identical color words. The 빨강 뭡니까? 빨강. Red. 파랑 뭐예요? Blue. 노랑. Yellow. 하양. White. What is black? You have to unify the format. So first of all, what is the difference amongst these categories? There are syntactic differences, isn't it? So category 1, they're all what? Nouns. They're all nouns. So if you want to say black in noun, you can either 검정 괜찮아요. Category 2, they're also all nouns, but different forms, isn't it? Nouns, but if you analyze it, if you dissemble, it goes adjective plus noun form. That explains why we have these neons here. We just studied this, isn't it? Modifying noun. Then you need neon because it's adjective. 됐죠? 자, category 3. These are all, I would say these are verbs, all verbs. So you have to finish the sentence with this. And unfortunately, this is a hit irregular. 자, first line, 어제 뭐 했어요? 저는 집에서 공부했어요. Second line, 어제 뭐 했습니까? 저는 집에서 공부했습니다. What is the difference? Between first line and second line? This is formality. 자, 아요, 어요, 해요 ending. I'm going to rate it. 아요, 어요, 해요 ending. This is informal, polite ending, isn't it? Informal, polite sentence ending. 습니다, 습니다, 합니다. These are what? Formal, polite sentence ending. Here's an important question. Does formal sentence ending make you sound polite? The answer is no. Formal sentence ending makes you sound formal, not more polite. To be polite, what do you need? Honorific form. Number 2. 어제 뭐 했어요? 저는 집에서 공부했어요. Second line. 어제 뭐 하셨어요? 저는 집에서 공부했어요. Second line. 하셨어요 bit. This bit. Honorific form. 자, formality is totally different from honorific system. Using formal sentence ending never makes you sound polite, okay? It makes you sound formal. So it's all about the settings. So when can you use it? During the interview, during the presentation, conference presentation, public speech, news. These formal settings, we use a formal sentence ending. Either way, regardless sentence ending, you have to use honorific form, okay? To be polite. In terms of honorific form, do you use honorific form when you're talking about yourself? Oh no, that's another aspect, important aspect of this honorific system. When you talk about yourself, you don't honor yourself, okay? You don't respect yourself. You need to be humble. You're nothing, okay? So how can you make decision when to use honorific form or not? Syntactically, there's a simple answer. It goes with subject, okay? When the subject is older person or higher person in the hierarchy, then the verb needs honorific form, okay? Subject. Most of the time, as I said, as we already know, subjects are hidden. So we have to infer what is the hidden subject.